just before we get into today's podcast, as I was recording my interview with Kevin from the BBL, news broke about the passing of Kobe Bryant, along with 4 other people, including his daughter, in a helicopter accident. Just like to pay my respects and thoughts go out to the Bryant family and the family those affected by this tragedy. Been a basketball fan for a long time, and Kobe is a big part of my childhood and growing up watching his games and the All-Star games. So yeah, I just want to take a minute to pay respects before we start. Thank you. Hello baseball fans, and welcome into episode number 3 of the British Baseball Podcast. It's Monday the 27th of January 2020. I'm Matthew, your host for the evening, and today's show we have news and a special chat with Kevin from the British Baseball League. He's the commissioner there at the BBL. Just to let you know, if you want to contact the show, you can reach me on Twitter at BritBaseballPod. There's now also a Facebook page that goes by the same name of Brit Baseball Pod, and you can always email me with feedback, questions or suggestions at BritishBaseballPodcast@gmail.com. So without any further delay, let's get into it. So welcome in baseball fans, and thank you for joining me for the 3rd week. The numbers are growing, getting bigger and better, so I really appreciate you taking a small part of your day to listen to me waffle on about the sport that we love. I'd like to start off today's show with some news. I sort of touched on briefly at the start from stateside with the basketball legend, icon Kobe Bryant, and his tragic passing and those that are involved in it as well. But let's keep it a bit more upbeat and on our shores and about our sport that we love. I'd like to start off with a bit of news that's coming out of Wales. RBI Wales Baseball and Softball have reported that they've got a venue for play ball this year in Cardiff, and it's thanks to Sports Cardiff and Cardiff Games. It's going to be taking place before the MLB London Series on that Friday at the National Indoor Athletics Centre. Baseball activities with pro players are going to be aimed at school children, and for more information on how you can get involved as either a sponsor or volunteer, etc., go to rbiwales@gmail.com or look for them on the social medias as well. The coaching summit put on by Baseball Softball UK looks like it's been a massive success. I've seen nothing but great things coming out of the social media for those that were in attendance. The coaching awards were also announced, with Josh Mills-Knudsen, who won the Youth Baseball Coach of the Year at the London Mets, and also the BSUK Volunteer of the Year award this year has gone to Bristol's baseball chairman, Richard Evans, so congratulations you guys there. They've also announced that a pitching clinic is going to be taking place in Manchester on the 8th of March at Fives in Trafford, and also in London, Fernham Park on the 22nd of March. And to register for those, go on to baseballsoftballuk.com to register interest there. And while you're looking at registering your interest, the umpire seminar was on Thursday, which was done by Gabor. It's free. Head on over to the Baseball Federation website to register your interest for that. It's going to be taking place on Thursday. It's a great insight into the game from the dark side of the force. It was really interesting. I was only able to attend for a little while because my 2-year-old decided that Thursday night was not his night for sleeping. But what I did manage to catch was very insightful, and I'll be attending on Thursday. The UK Brew Crew. And whilst browsing through the social medias the other day, I noticed a tweet from a gent called Gavin Marshall, and he can be found at Gavin_Marshall on Twitter, and I've pinned it to my profile at Brit Baseball Pod. He's raffling off a Louisville Slugger baseball bat, which has been kindly donated by the baseball outlet to raise money for pancreatic cancer. Gavin's got a story to tell you about on his Facebook page. If you look for his tweet, the link will take to his Facebook site and how you can get involved there. It's only £5 a ticket, and as of recording, there are a few spaces left on there, so get in there for the chance to win a really nice prize, especially if you're trying out any of the clubs at the moment or taster session needs some equipment. This could be really a useful addition to your kit. Announced that they've got a new addition. Baby Isla was born a couple of days ago, so welcome to the club. And I forgot to mention when we were talking about umpires before that Blake Taylor, at Blake Taylor 83, has been selected to be an umpire in the Little League Baseball World Series over in Pennsylvania. Would like to keep in touch with you there, Blake, and let us know how you're getting on and tell us some stories when you get back. And in news also there in Bristol, they're going to be having the England cricket team coach Chris Taylor. He's going to be popping down there on the 9th of February to do some training sessions with the team. So give them a follow at Bristol Baseball and find out more information there of how you can get involved. That brings us to the end of quite a interesting week of news. I've actually not had any training today at Manchester Baseball. It was called off due to some exams taking place where they train. So I managed to pick up a book when I was doing some research from a first episode on the beginnings of baseball in Britain. I came across some articles by a gentleman called Jim Leake, who was writing about baseball in the war. I reached out to Jim, and he mentioned there's a book that he'd done called 9 Innings for the King, and it's about a baseball game that was played during the First World War at Stamford Bridge in London on the 14th of July 1918. So I'm partly through reading that book. Once I've finished it, I think I might do a feature piece on that in a future podcast. But as for now, news coming from Baseball Ireland. The national team head coach, Donegal Fergus, who can be found at Coach Ferg, has been appointed as the minor league hitting coordinator for the Minnesota Twins. That's a great appointment there for you. Love to hear how it's going on, and just drop him a tweet and send him some support, and hopefully he'll keep us in updated with things as they are going. So I think now this is a really good time to move on to the chat with Matt section with Kevin, the commissioner from the British Baseball League. There was a bit of a trouble again with the audio at the start, so instead of me sounding really ignorant for a second week in a row, I've managed to cut off a little bit of the audio at the start, and it was just me basically introducing Kevin and welcoming him to the show, which is really nice with. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll speak to you on the other side. The London Mets are going to be hosting a Women in Baseball event, and that's going to be taking place on the 25th and 26th of March. For more information on this, you can go to WBUK. So I'm excited to invite to the show today for the second chat with Matt, Kevin. And Kevin, you are the commissioner of the British Baseball League. So the first question I'd like to ask really is, how did you first get involved in baseball, and ultimately, how did it lead to your involvement in the British Baseball League?
Well, I went to a game in 1990. So my brother lives over in America, and he took us to a Red Sox game in September. Didn't have a clue what was going on. The game went to 11 innings. It was a 4-3 win for Boston. Both Griffey Jr. and Senior were in the outfield, and I was hooked. So I came back and went onto my dial-up internet, as it was back in 1990, and went to see if there was any baseball teams around. And as it was, I lived in Hull at the time, and there was 4 to 5 baseball teams in Hull. It was the baseball capital of the UK, so I couldn't have been any luckier than that. And went to join the local team, and the local team was probably one of the best teams in the country at that time, the Humberside Mets. Went along as a player for their second team, and became involved with their committee. And after a while, I could do some more for the sport. Really got into the sport, and so I put my name forward to stand for the British Baseball Federation board, and ended up on the British Baseball Federation board, and have been involved administrating baseball in the UK on and off since about 1994. Oh
wow! So you played a fair bit of baseball within your life. What other sort of opportunities has baseball afforded you? Have you done anything within the national setup or anything like that?
Yeah, so became when I became the board member on the BBF board. After a while, I became involved with the Great Britain setup. It's always had a special place in my affections for baseball. So I became the Great Britain general manager and looked after all the squads within at the time we had the senior team and the junior team. And myself, Gary Roberts, and Vince Garcia at the time were the three people that we set up the baseball academy at the time, and just became involved with organising all the transportation stuff to tournaments, making sure the players were fed, transported around, and organised all the tournaments. So yeah, I've sort of involved that. That was got to see loads of parts of the world with that. It was really enjoyable.
Yep, that sounds quite interesting, especially with the setup of all the tournaments and stuff. I've tried to hold tournaments in like workplace leagues and stuff, and they've never gone well. So to do something on a massive scale like that, then yeah, couldn't have been easy. But I imagine it been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, when we became involved with the Humberside Mets, we had the opportunity to host a European baseball tournament in 1992, which was equivalent of a bit like the Champions League of baseball at the time. So basically, we hosted that tournament in Hull in 1992, and then in 1996 we hosted the European men's B-pool tournament, which the Great Britain team won. And we basically hosted that in Hull, and then in 1997 we hosted the European Junior Championships off the back of that. So we got into the swing of we had a very good committee in Hull, and still have a good committee in Hull, and basically we're just very good at getting stuff organised and relished the chance of hosting the tournaments at the time.
So you've been around baseball for quite a while, since the 90s. Have you seen the game change since the 90s and the 2010s? What sort of thing have you seen?
Baseball in this country is very cyclical. So there are people at the moment that I hear from people or talk to people who are affiliated to the federation and not affiliated to the federation. Baseball back in the early 90s was divided. So there was a team. There was about 8 teams that were involved at the time. They were pretty much 3 of 4 of those teams were the best teams in the country at the time, and they split away from the BBF at the time because they weren't happy with didn't think they were getting value for money, didn't think they were getting a say in anything or whatever, and they set up their own league, which was very competitive at the time. I actually spent probably the first year and a bit of my when I went onto the BBF board, trying to get those teams back, and we eventually got those teams back after a period of time. And it's similar at the moment. Teams have split away from the BBF because they don't feel that they're listened to and don't feel they're getting value for money. And it's a case of at some stage in the future, all the teams will probably come back together. It's like with anything. There's cycles of stuff. There's about similar amount of teams playing now. There's similar amounts of teams playing now in like the late 2020s to there was probably in 2010s. But if you go back to when I first got involved in 1995, there was loads of teams and loads of leagues. And I was just actually looking at online the other day at an old magazine that I used to put together with my I shan't take all the credit, with my ex-wife, and she did most of the typing for it. But I've got a magazine called Britball that we used to put out, and in there, it was interesting. We held a northern youth tournament, and there was probably about 12 junior teams from all the northern teams there. So that's where it's sort of not as good as it has been in the north. For definite, where we haven't got the youth structure that we used to have all those years ago. So yeah, things will go full circle. We're trying to get the teams in the north are trying to get youth programs going, etc. So it will just come back around again. There's the thing with baseball in the UK is there is a hardcore bunch of nutters who absolutely love the sport, and there will always be a hardcore bunch of nutters that love the sport that would do anything for it. and go out and play and travel for ages to go and play a game, etc. And you know, if I had one wish for baseball, it would be that everybody in the UK knew that we existed, because I think that's one of the biggest problems we have, is the amount of times I have conversations with people and they went, well, I didn't know there was baseball played in the UK. That, for me, you know, social media with all the teams, etc., and, you know, is getting the message out there that we actually exist. And if you want to come along and play, umpire, score, get involved in some way, shape or form, then, you know, just contact your local team. They'll be happy to have your help.
Yeah, exactly. And especially now with a lot of teams doing the sort of winter training periods, I've been trying to retweet a lot of the teams that are out there with their open training sessions to get awareness a bit more, I suppose, for the clubs, to try and get people down. And I actually got one person message back saying that they'd found a local team and we're going down for tryouts. So I kind of feel like it's working slowly but surely. My partner actually came up with a great idea the other day when we were discussing ideas and questions to ask. And when we go down and watch Manchester, it's in the middle of a park near an athletics track. And her idea was, why don't we just take an extra chair? So when we go and watch the game, we have a third seat out, and if somebody's walking past with a dog, we can just invite them to sit, have a chat with them, and let them watch the game with us for a bit, and see if we can try and sort of get more people involved that way. We just work good old-fashioned word of mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an idea for the summer. I can't really see it happening when it's raining, and being in Manchester, it's always raining, I suppose.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Baseball is it's actually quite a family affair for you, isn't it, Kevin? With your partner and your son also being involved. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I basically had some time away from baseball in the late sort of early 2010-ish, 13, 14, I think it was, just because I was busy with work and stuff like that. And the person that got me involved with baseball in the UK was a guy called Barry Marshall, and he comes from a baseball dynasty in Hull, and so basically he became involved. So he got me involved with the Humberside Mets, and through that I met his 14-year-old son Gavin. Well, fast forward into about 2014-15, and they were going to get back involved again with the whole team. And he asked me, they said if they're going to get back involved, they knew that I was a good administrator and wanted me to be involved with help running the club with them. So we took, we said to our 13-year-old son at the time, Miles, we said, do you want to come down and watch this baseball game? Some of Kevin's friends is inviting me, and no, I don't want to go down. Well, come on, we always used to say to Miles that there's, if you do things, there might be 1 out of 10 of the things that we ask you to do that'll be crap. The other 9 will be, be good. And he was just like, no, I don't want to go down. So eventually we sort of, drugged him, bundled him into the car, took him down to the baseball field. And about 5 hours later, we're trying to drag him away from the baseball field because he absolutely loved it. And he got involved, and he got involved, and obviously with the coaching that we had up in Hull, where we've got a load of players that are ex-Great Britain internationals, and of course Gavin was the first British-born and bred player to play professional baseball, and obviously a pitcher. So basically Gavin, took him under his wing. And he was basically received good training. He made the Great Britain under, the cadet squad, the under 15 squad, and then he made the under 18 squad. But we had a long chat with him when he was 15, because he was like really getting into it. He'd always loved sport, and we said to him, if you want to make it as a baseball player, you've possibly got to look at going to school in the States. And if you want to do that, then we'll do whatever we can to facilitate that. So at the age of 16. We basically was we organised it so that he could go to a high school in the States, and he went to John Carroll School there for 2 years and was coached by Coach Seiler there. And then during the summer of his senior year, we then organised for him to go to a tryout, to go and visit a couple of colleges. So there was a college in Modesto in California, which was the team was run by Gavin's old teammate, from college, and we also sent him to another college called Menlo College, which was basically the college that the Great Britain coach Will Linton went to, as well as an old Great Britain player Alex Malihudis. So there was like a history of players from Great Britain going there, and they offered him a part scholarship. So Modesto was a junior college. The other one was an NAIA school. And of course, we said it's up to you which one you want to go to, and he chose Menlo. So he started in Menlo this August. He went out there in July to get accustomed. He made the varsity team, so he's a relief pitcher on the varsity team, throwing sort of 86 now consistently. And they've just started their season. Obviously, as a freshman, you don't tend to get a lot of game time, but we'll see. He pitched the other week in an inning, struck out 2 and got a pop out for the other one. So that's all he needs to do. So yeah, and he's going in the summer. He's going to be playing in a wood bat league in San Diego, the San Diego League. So he's going to have a very intense and steep learning curve. But for any other players out there that are, or listeners out there that are like in their early teens or whatever, and also players that have never started to play the sport. If you know of kids that are athletic but have maybe been cast aside by sports like football and rugby, then it's never too late to start. Never too late to start to take up the sport if you invest the time and effort into it. So.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's a great point you touched on there. A friend of mine does a podcast on grassroots football, Carlos, and he's got 3 kids. One of them's in his teenage years now, and I'm trying to convince him to take his son down to Manchester baseball just to see if he enjoys it, because he said Miles was 13 when he started playing, and it can be a gateway. I mean, you see it so many sports where kids are let go from football, soccer being the biggest sport in the UK, and after they get let go from a team, say that around here, I hear stories of parents taking the kids to Man City's academy, Man United's academy, and there's such a young age, and it's like their life, and then it's like one out of however many it is that makes it through there. What happens to these kids then after that? And baseball can be that. It's such a fun sport. I wish I'd found it years ago, and I find myself again at a age where I'm wishing I'd picked something up when I was 10 years younger. Like I did the same with ice hockey. I was 28 training with a load of 14-year-olds, and now I'm pushing 40, finding baseball for the first time and wishing I could have cracked this whip 10, 15 years ago.
I think the thing is with the that side of things is that with the kids, the thing about American sports, and I was going to chat about this with some family the other day, is that the thing with American sports is particularly baseball. Most Major League Baseball players, if they make it to the major leagues, they're probably around about 27 years of age, because they'll have gone through 4 years of college. Then they'll have gone into the minor league system, and then some of them may never make it out the minor league system. But if they do, they're probably 25, 26, 27 years of age by the time they get there. And every sort of, most college athletes, whether they're football players or baseball players, will have a degree. Now, in the UK, as you said, kids will go to a football academy, and by the time they're 16, if they're not good enough, they'll just be cast aside and possibly there's no. I think it's changed somewhat now. There is a bit more of an emphasis on nutrition and stuff like that at the football academies, but I think in the UK, particularly with football, I've been involved when Miles was a part of a football team. It's all about winning. And my other son is a rugby player, and he was told at the age of 12 that the team that he was involved with, they used to run 2 or 3 teams, and he was told at the age of 12, well, we're just going to concentrate on the best teams. And I said, why are you doing that? Why aren't you just having, why are you basically turning kids away? And he said, well, because it's like an FA directive. We have to concentrate on the best players. And I think at the time I said to him, what do the FA know about football? They make some really stupid stupid things. There's never a situation where I think we've ever turned a youth player away from baseball in Hull, because you just can't afford to, because you need as many players as possible. So I do think there are a lot of kids that will then get in, be turned away from a sport and then get involved in stuff they shouldn't be getting involved with, and there goes a slippery slope. So.
Yeah, good points. All good points, and yeah, well, we can only try our best to try and get as many people involved, can't we?
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of minutes left before we need to wrap up the pod. So I'll open up to some listener questions, and Jim's messaged him, and he's would like to know what will the BBL be doing to help promote baseball in schools?
So we have a school's manual. So basically, what we did in Hull is, in Hull we started off going into loads of schools in Hull initially. We just reached out to all the schools and said, "Do you want us to come in and coach?" And we basically had loads of schools, secondary schools, junior schools, etc., come back and contact us. And we'd had a bit of a scattergun approach. After a couple of years, we sort of honed that down. So as I said, we have got like a manual that we can send out to teams if they would like a copy of it. They just need to email me at kevin@britishbaseballleague.com, and I'll send a copy of it to them. But my advice to people getting involved with wanting to get school baseball going is to invest in looking at the primary schools that are within a mile of where your ground is, because then you're removing any issues about transportation and kids not being able to get to stuff for transportation issues, or parents saying, "Oh, it's too far for me to take you." And also, we concentrated. After a while, we decided to concentrate on years 3 and 4. Now, a lot of years 3 and 4s, they're just being introduced to sports. So they're just being introduced to striking and fielding. So when we were going to teach 5 and 6-year-olds, we would say to them, "Have you all played rounders?" And they'd all stick their hand up and go, "Yes." We asked that to 3 and 4-year-olds, and they didn't know what rounders was. And we were like, "Oh." So we had to. So it was great in one respect, but it made the explanation of baseball a little bit more, difficult. So yeah, I would just say concentrate on primary schools within that area, and then you're building up your youth program as things go over. So yeah, I can give people advice on youth programs. We've been running one in Hull for a number of years.
Brilliant, lovely. Is there anything in place to help the kids at school transition, like say school age transition into open age baseball?
So in Hull, again, we have there's a kids team called the Purple Pirates. So what we do is, in school, we're teaching the basics over so many like lessons, and then the encouragement to do the specific stuff about the sport is basically we then ask them to try and get the kids to come down to the Purple Pirate sessions we have after school, which usually run, I think, between 4 and 6 o'clock in the sort of summer onwards. So it's just a case of trying to get the kids at the next step to get involved with the club, and then over a period of time, obviously, we'll have those kids will transition through to the older adult team.
Great stuff. Jim actually asked another question as well, so I'll roll this out to you. Is there a formal coaching development program within the BBL?
We use we use and promote BSUK's coaching clinics. So obviously they're coaching clinic this weekend, but they also put courses on. I wouldn't sit there and say to people, people to be put off by reaching out to your schools and saying, "Oh, I need a coaching certificate to go in and coach it." If you coach baseball in your club, you don't need a coaching certificate to go into a school. The only thing a school would normally ask you, and this is all we've ever been asked to going into schools in Hull, is, do you have a DBS certificate? So, are you have you got child protection clearance? We'd never asked. I think one school's asked, whether we've got any coaching things. They're usually that grateful that people are coming in and offering to the time and effort to the kids that basically they usually open you up with open arms. But yeah, we just basically say to teams, go and if there's a BS UK course on, we'll just promote the BS UK course to the team members.
Yeah, like we said before, they had the coaching seminar this weekend, which from the social media posts I've seen coming out of there was a massive success. And I know they got some pitching and hitting clinics coming up soon in March. I know the pitching one's in March. There's one in Manchester and there was one in London. I'll talk about that in the news section.
Will Linton's running a pitching and catching, pitching and catching clinics regularly. And again, I think the other key thing I think for a lot of players in the UK is unless you invest in your body, and what I mean by that is unless you put in the effort, as in the weights that you need to do to be able to increase the velocity and eat the right sort of food. If you're eating McDonald's all the time and not bothering to go to the gym and working out, well, then you're not going to improve at the end. That's just as important as grip and, all of the other bits and pieces, technical stuff about baseball. You need to have a strong body to be able to do the stuff that you're going to ask your body to do. So, and I know Will's touching on that with the pitchers and catchers that he's speaking to at the moment.
Yeah. 2 questions before we go. These are supposed to be a bit more fun and for me. I don't actually follow a Major League Baseball team, and what I'm going to start asking is everyone that I have on as a guest is to tell me who is your Major League Baseball team and why I should support and why I should follow them. And you've got 30 seconds to send me your best pitch on your team. So.
Well, I follow the Boston Redsoxs, and based upon the controversy at the moment about the fact that they may or may not have cheated, I'd probably it's going to be a very hard sale. I am in sales even. So I can't sell that one to you. I think I said to you, via email or whatever. We watch a lot of MLB TV during the summer. 6 o'clock on a Sunday night, we put MLB TV on, and there's a game that's starting at 1 p.m. on the East Coast. So I would suggest you probably pick a team on the east or the middle of the coast. Not the Marlins, they're rubbish. Not Baltimore. I've got a lovely stadium. They're rubbish. Definitely not the Yankees. Everybody pretty much hates the Yankees. I'd probably go for the Mets actually. If I didn't support the Red Sox, I'd probably support the Mets. So yeah, I'd pick the Mets.
Okay, and finally, baseball is
a large part of my life. Always has been. I wish, like you, I got involved with it. Got involved with it earlier. But yeah, I've got the chance to live vicariously through Miles, and it will always be a big part of our life. I love giving up time to the sport. I love speaking to people about it. So yeah, if anybody wants any advice on anything, or any other questions they want to ping me afterwards, then by all means just get in contact with me on Facebook, Twitter, or via the website. And
where can we reach you on the social medias, Kev?
So social media is the Twitter is at Brit Baseball. On Facebook it's British Baseball League, and the website is BritishBaseballLeague.com. So yeah, you can just contact us on any of those. Our website's going through an overhaul shortly. But it's the email and everything and telephone number is still working on there. Lovely.
Kevin, any final words?
No, thank you very much for taking the time and effort to do this podcast. It's great. We need it. As I said to you before, we just need to make sure as many people as possible get the message out there that the game's existed, because as we've all seen people walking around with Yankees caps on. We obviously know they've got no interest in the sport whatsoever, but it would be nice if we could convert a few of them, or just tell people that it actually exists out there. And whilst I remember, we've got a range of British Baseball League clothing that we've got on our Facebook page. So by all means, get in contact with or click on the link and order some of the clothing. There's going to be some other bits of merchandise coming out as well. Hopefully that will get the message out there.
Yeah, that's what I like. Some merch, especially as a neutral from MLB. I can't be walking on with anyone's team on. I might as well wear a British baseball t-shirt. So that's our time for today. Kevin, thank you very much, and thank you for your kind words about the podcast. Thanks for reaching out and providing content as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Take care. Ta-ra. So that brings us to the end of the third episode and this week's show. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. And again, if you want to reach out to the show, you can find me on Twitter at BritBaseballPod, or you can email the show BritishBaseballPodcast@gmail.com. Any suggestions or things you want to talk about, you want to be a guest of the show, want to contribute any news or articles, please feel free to let me know. I'm going to be doing a lot of research in the next coming days for some future projects, including mental health in sport, which I think is going to be a big one, women in baseball, and also for you guys to contact me with anything that's happening within your club, any training sessions you want to talk about, any guests you've got coming down, or you just want me to try and promote your team a little bit more, please feel free to get in touch that way. Thanks again to Kevin for his time today. We actually spoke for another 20 or so minutes after the interview had ended. Such a great guy. Could talk to him about baseball all day. So who knows, in the future might have him for another segment. We'll be able to hear some more of him. So yeah, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Ta-ra.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.